Good day, everyone. So the first topic that we're going to discuss in general mathematics is about functions. But before we proceed to function, let us first discuss about relations. What is relation? A relation is a rule that relates values from the first set of values or our first coordinates, ang tawagan niya domain, to a second set of values called the range. The elements of the domain can be imagined as input to a machine that applies a rule to these inputs to generate one or more outputs. A relation is also a set of ordered pairs usually denoted by x and y. And there are different representations of relations. This was already introduced to you during your grade 8. So here we have ordered pairs. So the first representations of relation is ordered pair. So we have here an example of an ordered pair. It is being pair 1, 31, 2, 28, 3, 31. Usually this is our x and the second value is our y. The first set of values, which is 1, 2, 3, are elements of the domain. 31, 28, and 31 belongs to the range. So this is how we're going to write it. We have the domain 1, 2, 3, and the range is 31 and 28. So, or you can rewrite this one as 28 and 31. Then, the second representation is the mapping diagram. You have here the domain and the range. Dinhi ang mga elements sa domain, i-map siya using by an arrow. So, here, 3 is mapped to 21, which means 3 has a value of 21 in the range. Negative 1 is mapped to 5, which means negative 1 has a value of 5 in the range. Same also with positive 1. The value of 1 in the range is 5. This is the mapping diagram. Next, we have the table, meaning nakatabular ang atoang pagkasulat sa relation. We have the rule, and then you have the domain and the range. Next, we have the graph. Meaning, graph ni mo siya. This is another representation of relation. We have our x and we have our y. We have the domain, we have the range. Next, rule. So, rule is the most comprehensive way to represent a relation. Meaning, you're going to write some rule na kay ginasubay na rule. So, we have how many representation of relation? We have the ordered pair na atay mapping diagram, table, and then ang rule. And the last one is the graph. So, we have 5. So, now let us proceed to functions. So, what is the basic concept of function? So, let's take this one. Have you encountered a hot drink vending machine? Kanagong machine sa kape. Kung pislit ka og flavor, mupili ka og flavor, then i-process to siya sa machine, then ay mo gawas karon nga output or katong kape nga imo ang pili. Okay, same also with the concept of a function. Here you have the function machine. You have the input, then the machine will process that one, and you will have your output. You have your domain, then it will be processed through a rule, and then na siya imong gawas nga output or na siya sa range. So a mathematical function or simply a function is like a recipe. There are input variables, ano siya ingredients, whose values, the amount per ingredients are entered into a certain rule or set of rules, or that is the instruction, to yield a corresponding output, the amount of number of servings of the finished product or the food. So a function is a correspondence between a set of input values, again it is the domain, and a set of output values called the range. So it is a relation. A function is a relation where each element in the domain is related to only one value in the range by some rule. The elements of the domain can be imagined as input to a machine that applies a rule so that each input corresponds to only one output. Take note of the underlined words, only one. A function is a set of ordered pairs x, y, such that no two pairs have the same x but different y values. An input value corresponds to only one output value, but a particular output value may be correspondent to more than one input value. Okay, each value in the domain has a corresponding value in the range. So let us take this example of functions. The first one, set of ordered pairs. So which of the following relations are functions? So by the way, all functions are relations, but not all relation can be considered as function. Okay, so which among these relation are function? Let's take set A, B, C, and D. So take note of the given definition of function, meaning only one. The value in the domain has only one value in the range. Remember that one. So let's take this one, set A. The first set, the domain 1, 2, 3, 5. Nabay ni balik-balik na value ni domain? Wala. So, si matag domain karon na siya only one corresponding value kang range. So, si 1 na ay value sa range nga 2, si 2 na ay value nga range sa 3, si 3 na ay value na sa range nga 4, si 5 na ay value nga range sa 6. So, can we consider set A as a function? Yes, this is a function. How about set B? Nabay na balik-balik na value ni x or ni domain? Wala. So, therefore, we can consider this one as a function. How about set C? Na 1 diri, na napoy 1 diri, which means 1 has a value of 0, na si 1 na napo siya value nga negative 1. So si 1 na ay duha ka value dito sa range. So can we consider this one as a function? No, this is not a function because 1 has two values in the range. How about set D? You have B, C, C, D, A, B, B, E. As you observe, we have B here and another B here, which means that B has two values in the range. Naa si C, naapod si E. Can we consider this one as a function? No, it is not a function. Next. Okay, again, another example here, not a function because we have one, same, 1 has a value of 3, and another value is 6. So 1 has two value in the range, which is 3 and 6. So this is not a function. How about through a mapping diagram? We have A, B, C, D. This one. Is this a function? Yes, this is a function. This is a one-to-one correspondence. 1 has a value of 2, 3 has a value of 5, 6 has a value of 9, 10 has a value of 12. How about this one? Okay, so we have 2 is mapped to 20 and it is also mapped to 40. So 2 has two values in the range, 20 and 40. This is a one-to-many correspondence. Is this a function or not a function? Yes, this is not a function because there are two values in the range, or the domain has two values in the range. How about this? A is mapped to X, B is mapped to Y, C is mapped to Y, D is mapped to Z. Can we consider this one as a function? Or is this a function? Yes, this is a many-to-one correspondence. Maski pag nagkapareha ang value ni B ug C sa Y, pero isa lang yun ang iyahang value dito sa range. Meaning si C naradyo isa ka book value dito sa range, si Y. Nya si B pod isa ra pod na ang iyahang value dito sa range, si Y lang. Okay, how about this one? Many to one. Is this a function? Yes, a many to one correspondence is a function. Si 1 na lang dyan isa ka value sa range. Si 2 na ra po isa ka value sa range. Si 3 na ra po isa ka value sa range. Okay, how about this example? Kana. Is that a function? Very good. It is not a function. This is a one-to-many correspondence. Si 1 daghang kay value sa range. Oh. Meaning, dili na siya function because it is being defined that a function should only have one value sa range. Sa example karon daghang kay value si 1. So, this is not a function. Okay, functions as a graph in the Cartesian plane. So, a relation between two sets of numbers can be illustrated by a graph in the Cartesian plane, and that a function passes the vertical line test. So, a vertical line can be drawn anywhere and intersect the graph in at most one point. So, we can identify a graph if it is a function or not using the vertical line test. Okay, what is this vertical line test? Okay, the vertical line test. A graph represents a function if and only if each vertical line intersects the graph at most once. Okay, isa lang jud. If the vertical line intersects a graph twice, then the graph cannot represent a function because two different values in the range correspond to one value in the domain. Okay, let's take this example. For A, can we consider this one as a function? If you cannot determine, then let us use the vertical line test. Let us draw a vertical line. So, at any point, since the graph intersects the vertical line once, isa lang dito siya. So, can we consider this one as a function? Yes, this is a function. This one. Kapila siya nag-intersect? Kaisa lang. Function dili. Okay, it is a function. How about this? Kapila nag-intersect ang graph sa vertical line? Kaduha. So, can we consider this one as a function? No. Kaya dapat kaisa lang jud mo intersect ang graph sa vertical line. Kani. Pila ka points na intersect sa vertical line? Kaduha. So, dili po ni siya considered as a function. Okay, how about using a table? Kung makita niya si 2 na ay 7, 4, 9, 6 na lang po 11, isa ka book value, 8, 13, isa lang po 10, 15, isa lang. So, is this a function? Yes, this is a function. How about this one? 1, 2, 3, 4. Though, we have the same value in our y, in our range, but then this is a many-to-one correspondence. So, this is a function. How about this one? 1 has a value of 0 and 1 has also a value of 1 in the range. Meaning, si 1 na ay duha ka book value sa range. 0 o 1. Function or not a function? Yes, this is not a function because 1 has 2 values in the range. How about this? 1. This is a one to many correspondence. Si 1 dahan kay value sa range. Is this the function? No, this is not a function. Okay, how about using a rule? Number 1, function, not a function. Okay, this is a function. If we're going to substitute values in the x, or we can take any values of x. Let's try. If x is equals to 1, then what will be our y? So we have an ordered pair of 1 and 4. So if you're going to plug in any values in x, still we will have one value in y. So is this a function? Oh, function is siya. Kani, x squared plus 2x plus 1. If we're going to substitute x by any value, can we have one value of that? Or can we have one output if we're going to process this one? Let's take x is equals to 1. So we have 1 squared plus 2 times 1 plus 1 is equals to 4. So we have an ordered pair of 1 and 4. So is that a function? Yes, function siya because we can replace any value of this, but na isa lang gyapon ang ihang value sa range. How about number 3? X squared plus y squared is equals to 1. If you're going to rewrite this one in terms of y, so that would be y squared is equals to 1 minus x squared. So we can have this one to get the value of y, we have to eliminate this one. And we have a plus and minus or positive and negative value for this given equation. So, na kay positive, na po kay negative nga value kang y. So, function ba siya or dili? It is not a function. How about for number 4? Yes, we can substitute any values of x and we can get one value of y. So, this is a function. Now, let us relate function to real-life situation. Okay, you and your 7 friends went to Aling Fest's snack house to buy suman. You want to treat your friends. However, you do not have an idea of how much will you pay for the suman. Let x be the price of a suman, where x is an integer. You want to compute how much it would cost you if you treat your friends. If one suman would cost you x pesos, then buying 7 pieces of suman for you and your friends would cost you 7x pesos. If we let f be the function representing the total cost, then f of x is equals to 7x. So this is now your function. Okay, what if kung tag 5 ang suman? So we're going to substitute or replace our x. So you will now have 7 times 5. So you're going to pay 35 pesos. Okay, another example using function in real life. If distance d is a function of time, give a function d that can represent the distance a car travels in t time. If every hour the car travels 50 kilometers. So you have there the solution. For every hour the car travels 50 kilometers. Therefore, the distance d function is given by d of t is equals to 50t. What if the car travels 2 hours? Let's say ut would be equivalent to 2 hours. So what is now the distance traveled by the car? So that would be 50 times 2. So the car travels 100 kilometers in 2 hours. So what if there are various conditions given in the problem? How are we going to write its function? So, natin natawag na piecewise function. A piecewise function is a function where more than one formula is used depending on the value of the domain. Each formula has its own domain, and the domain of the function is the union of all these smaller domains. Piecewise function is used to describe situations where a rule or relationship changes as the input value crosses a certain boundaries. This is an example of piecewise function. So our function has multiple formula depending on the number of conditions. So we can have this one as the first condition, second condition, and third condition, because the function is broken into pieces by virtue of the constraints imposed by the values of x. Okay, let's take this example. A user is charged 300 pesos monthly for a particular mobile plan, which includes 100 free text messages. Messages in excess of 100 are charged 1 peso each. Represent the amount a consumer pays each month as a function of the number of messages m sent in a month. Solution. Let m be the number of messages sent each month. Okay, if you're going to examine the given situation, you will come up with two conditions. Okay, the first condition is that you're going to pay 300 pesos if your m, or the number of messages, is just greater than or equal to 0 but less than or equal to 100. The second condition is if your number of messages sent is greater than 100, then you will have the second condition, that is 300 plus m minus 100. Okay, writing this one into a piecewise function, then you will have this formula below. T of m is equal to 300 if m is greater than or equal to 0 but less than or equal to 100. And another formula is that if the number of messages exceed 100, then you'll have this one, 300 plus m minus 100. Okay, let's take an example. Pananglitan, hapit na imuhang dibu. Okay, so imuhan ng i-text ang imuhang mga friends. Unya, naka-text na ka og 120 or naka-send na ka 120 messages. Which among the two formula are you going to use? Okay, you're going to use the second formula. Since 120, your number of messages sent is greater than 100. Okay, next. An ice cream pop costs 10 pesos per piece. However, if you buy more than 3 pieces, they will mark down the price to 8 pesos per piece. Use a piecewise function to represent the cost in terms of the number of ice cream pop bought. Okay, solution. Let n be the number of ice cream pop bought. So, going back with a given situation, so you will come up with two conditions. The first condition is that if you're going to buy 3 pieces or less ice cream pop, then you will have this formula, 10n. Again, if your n is greater than 0 but less than or equal to 3. The second condition is if you're going to buy more than 3 pieces of ice cream pop, then you'll have this formula, that is 8n. Again, if your n, the number of ice cream pop, both is greater than 3. Okay, writing this one into a piecewise function, then you will have this one, f of n is equals to 10n if n is greater than 0 but less than or equal to 3. And another formula is that you will have 8n if n is greater than 3. Okay. So sa imuhang libo, let's take example. So sa imuhang libo, you want to have an ice cream pop. So ningon kasi mong mama, palita og napulo ka buok ice cream pop. So which among the two formula are you going to use? The first one or the second one? Okay, so you're going to use the second formula, which is 8n. Since you want to buy 10 ice cream pop and that is greater than 3. So your n is greater than 3. Okay, another example. The cost of renting a set of table and chairs for an event is 30 pesos for 60 sets or less, 25 pesos per set for 61 to 120 sets, and 20 pesos per set for more than 120. Represent the total cost as a piecewise function of the number of set of table and chairs rented for an event. Okay, solution. Let H be the number of sets of table and chairs rented. Okay, again, examining the given situation, you will come up with 3 conditions. The first condition is that your H is greater than 0 but less than or equal to 60. So if you're going to rent 20 sets of tables and chairs, you're going to use the formula 30H or 30 times H. Okay, the second formula is if your H is greater than or equal to 61 but less than or equal to 120, then you are going to use 25H or 25 times H. And the third condition is if your H is greater than 120, so your formula would be 20H or 20 times H. Okay, writing this one into a piecewise function, then you will have the given below. Example, kung pananglitan mo rent mo og 50 ka buok set of tables and chairs. So which among the 3 formulas are you going to use? Okay, very good. So you're going to use the first formula since you're going to rent 50, which is greater than 0 but less than or equal to 60. So the formula you're going to use is the first one, 30H. Okay. Last example. A videoke machine can be rented for 1,000 pesos for 3 days, but for the 4th day onwards, an additional cost of 400 pesos per day is added. Represent the cost of renting a videoke machine as a piecewise function of the number of days it is rented. Solution. Let X be the number of days the videoke machine rented. Okay, going back with the situation, you will have 2 conditions. Okay, the first condition is that if you're going to rent the videoke machine, that is your X. Okay, given the condition, if your X is greater than 0 but less than or equal to 300, then you're going to pay 1,000 pesos. The second condition is if your X is greater than 3, then you will have this formula. 1,000 plus 400 times X minus 3. Okay. Writing this one into a piecewise function, then you will have f of x is equal to 1,000 if x is greater than 0 but less than or equal to 3. And the other formula is 1,000 plus 400 times x minus 3 if x is greater than 3. Okay, padayon na nato imong dibu. Gusto ka mag-rent og videoking machine kay gusto mo magkanta-kanta sa imong friends. Nya gusto nimo 5 days nimo rentahan ang videoking machine para sulit. So, which among the two formulas are you going to use? Okay, very good. So, you're going to use the second formula. Since the number of days, which is 5, your x is greater than 3. Okay, that is our last example. And the references. Okay, a videoking machine can be rented for 1,000 pesos for 3 days. But for the 4th day onwards, an additional cost of 400 pesos per day is added. Represent the cost of renting a videoking machine as a piecewise function of the number of days it is rented. Solution. Let x be the number of days the videoking machine rented. Okay, going back with the given situation, so we will come up with two conditions. The first condition is that if your x is greater than 0 but less than or equal to 3, then you will have 1,000. And the second condition is that if your x is greater than 3, then you will have this formula. F of x is equal to 1,000 plus 400 times x minus 3. Writing these two conditions in a piecewise function, then you will have f of x is equal to 1,000 if x is greater than 0 but less than or equal to 3. Second formula, 1,000 plus 400 times x minus 3 if x is greater than 3. Let's go back with the given example kung sa imuhang libo. Okay, gusto nimo sa imuhang libo na kay videoking machine because you want nga magkanta-kanta mo sa imuhang mga friends. Gusto ka nga mag-rent o videoking machine for 5 days para sulit. So, which among the two formula are you going to use? Okay, very good. The second formula. Since you're going to rent 5 days and your x, that is 5, is greater than 3, so you'll use the second formula. That is 1,000 plus 400 times x minus 3. Okay, that's all for our example. And these are the references.